My very first real estate deal was a wholesale deal. I made $28,000 with literally a $100 earnest money deposit. Back in 2008, I was a HUD certified housing counselor, credit counselor, bankruptcy counselor. And I just started noticing an increase of people coming into my office behind on their mortgage. And it just landed to me like a opportunity. And so I picked up a book from Borders, How to Get Started in Real Estate with No Cash or Credit, because that was kind of my situation. And I learned about that's the strategy wholesaling, not the way that we use it now, but just as a strategy. And I just started executing in trial and error. And back then we didn't have the Google and YouTubes and TikToks, and it wasn't like we didn't have all the gurus. We had Carlton Sheets, Russ Whitney, and but I just went out there and I found some local guys that were doing it, and they helped me out, and my business is essentially the way that I passed that forward. And the book I just created, Bird Dog Millionaire Booklet, that's basically the systems that I've used to get started. When I made $28,000, it just changed my whole paradigm because I was working at my job making 24,000 a year, and I just made more money, in less time and effort, in a 60-day period.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Real estate G, who's been making serious moves in the real estate space with education and investing. So really excited to have you here on the show today. I think our listeners are really going to take something away from how you're approaching your business and really launching a new system and teaching people real estate and investing. So let's dive into all of that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle, for having me. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this interview as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So first off, for people who may not be familiar with you and your world, can you give us the short version of what's your main focus these days?
My main focus is empowering people to build wealth through real estate and business. And this is something that I've been passionate about. I grew up in California, and when I was growing up, we didn't really have a lot of, financial wealth or anything like that. My dad just worked hard, and my mom, she was a pastor. So like, that's kind of what I saw. And it never made sense to me how we work hard, but we don't have the best of things, or even, like, we weren't middle class by any means. So, I always had something missing. And when I went to college, that was my main focus, is to learn how to make money with money and how to build wealth and how to change my financial situation. And over the years, that's effectively what I've done. And it's come down to business and real estate for sure. And so I'm fortunate that I got started without a lot, like most people, lack of education around it, lack of experience, a lack of resources, living paycheck to paycheck. But I just took action. I set a target and then I just moved towards it, and I learned every step of the way. It was a lot of trial and error, ups and downs. But, one thing that I've just grown to understand is failure is a part of it. mistakes is a part of it. The key is to learn from them, make those adjustments and continue moving forward towards the goal.
Yeah.
And the last piece that I would say too is just having powerful mentors, the who you know, the who you attach yourself with, is very important, which is one of the reasons why I've been looking at Investor Fuel Mastermind in that community, because I've learned that being around like-minded people can definitely, speed up that process.
Yeah, that's so important. I would love for you to expand on how you got started and how you transitioned from your own journey to then like teaching people.
Sure.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So my very first real estate deal was a wholesale deal. I made $28,000 with literally a $100 earnest money deposit. And what happened is back in 2008, I was a HUD certified housing counselor, credit counselor, bankruptcy counselor. And I just started noticing an increase of people coming into my office behind on their mortgage. And I had a couple of clients just basically say, look, I'm ready to walk away from my house, give it away type of thing. And it just landed to me like a opportunity. And so I picked up a book from Borders, because that's what we used to do back then, is go to the bookstore before like Amazon, right? And so I grabbed a book, How to Get Started in Real Estate with No Cash or Credit, because that was kind of my situation. And I learned about that's the strategy wholesaling, not the way that we use it now, but just as a strategy. And I just started executing in trial and error. And back then we didn't have the Google and YouTubes and TikToks, and it wasn't like we didn't have all the gurus. We had Carlton Sheets, Russ Whitney, but I just went out there and I found some local guys that were doing it, and they helped me out. And my business is essentially the way that I passed that forward. And the book I just created, Third Dog Millionaire Booklet, that's basically the systems that I've used to get started. When I made $28,000, it just changed my whole paradigm, because I was working at my job making 24,000 a year, and I just made more money, in less time and effort. In a 60-day period, most of it was set it up and wait. So, you can recognize that that's a paradigm shift. But for me, the epiphany was, I knew it. Like information, access to different information really changed my financial situation in that short of a period of time. And ever since then, I've had to make some transitions because, as we know, the market kind of fell apart. But I realized that I had a unique set of skills. I was a trained HUD certified counselor, and we had a world going into foreclosure. And so I started a loss mitigation company, which I just help educate people on their options to prevent foreclosure. And I had to learn a number of creative strategies because the access to money during that time wasn't available, because the money markets were going through their changes. And so, again, getting next to experts doing, things. And, I got connected with Dan Merrill and started learning how to build a real estate business. And since then, I've done some work with Grant Cardone, learning how to scale and 10X my business. Done some work with Bridger Pennington, learning how funds work and how to raise and manage money for investments. It's how to syndicate, things like that. So, it's connecting the dots. Now I'm doing some work with Coach Michael Burt, because I'm a coach and mentor. So I'm learning how to be a better coach and mentor to others. And, this thing is really straightforward. Yes, there's some things changing with AI and nuances. There's a lot of disruption with our president, and, but that's all a good thing. And what I've learned is that's when you can really have a quantum leap in your financial situation, because if you're not prepared for the shift, then you'll be left behind. It's that simple. And the last thing I'll say about it is, a lot of people don't have all the answers. So that just lets you know that you don't really need all the answers. You just got to be willing to connect with the right people. A lot of times it's not about how, it's really about who. And for me, I'm positioning myself to be the who you need to get started. Like if you lack confidence in taking that first step, I'm your guy.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Sure.
So, what would you say like that first step would be? Because maybe people listening are newer in this space and yeah, they just want to get started.
Yeah. So the first step is really dreaming. A lot of us have been beat up by society, beat up by our backgrounds, where we come from. There's ideas that have been we've inherited that are disempowering. And I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a believer of God. So for me, at the end of the day, my mother showed me how to leverage faith, how to walk in faith. And when you come from nothing, it's hard to fathom that certain things are possible for you. But the reality is, we can pretty much have what we want. We just have to be willing to do the work. So that first step is kind of dreaming. It's like, when you sit down and look at where you are and where you want to go, don't use your own judgment. And I don't want to get preachy, but, one verse in the Bible for me, and I relate to it as a good book, right? So it's lean not to your own understanding. Knowledge me and I'll direct your path. And how I translate that is I don't know everything. I'm certain of it. I do know a lot of things because I put the time and energy and effort to learn. And nowadays, if you have access to like Chat GPT or other AI platforms, access to information, is not an excuse for people as it was. With all of that said, first I just decide, what do I want to accomplish? If it's buying your first home, okay, you start reaching out and telling people, hey, look, I'm looking to buy my first home. Who do you think I need to talk to help me go in that direction? Like we're all on a journey. And when you talk about get started, like that's exactly what it is get started. But a lot of people resist getting started because we think that we have to know it all. We have to know everything. And confidence comes from knowledge. I've cultivated the mindset that and the ability to be uncomfortable, because I just relate to that's a part of growth. And so I don't have to know all the answers. I just have to know the direction that I want to go in. And so with all of that said, it's like if real estate, you see an opportunity for yourself, pick a target and start going towards it. Have those conversations, find people that are doing what you like to do, get into proximity, so a lot of real estate meetups, a lot of different communities, you can pay to get in the room or you can volunteer, you can buy the books. Like those are the actions that you can take to increase your knowledge and your comfort level. In my book, Bird Dog Millionaire booklet, I just share the concept that's worked best for me, with a lack of resources, a lack of experience, a lack of credit. I position myself to be a person of value. In all businesses, a fundamental part of that is lead generation. So whatever the product or service you offer, it doesn't matter if you're not solving your customer's problem and identifying that customer, so on and so forth. And so as a bird dog, you help investors, you help people as a bird dog, you help investors, find deals, and they typically pay you a finder's fee, assignment fee, wholesale fee, like depending on the structure that you use to execute, it will determine how much you make. But that's an easy way to get started in any industry. Is finding somebody that's doing what you want to do, understanding, what their customer looks like or, who their product is for, and then help, find those customers and bring them to the table for a fee. And then as you start to profit from that effort, then you can start to add more systems to your process. You can start to, take more ownership of the different steps in that business and scale from there. One of the things that I learned from Grant was a formula is promote, profit, process, and people. Like that's a framework to build a multi-million dollar business. And it starts with promotions. But we all have our social media platforms. We all have our personal networks, and trust and believe, if you picked up your phone, there's people that want to buy a house, there's people that want to sell a house, there's people behind their on their mortgage, there's people that are in the business, whether they're realtors or contractors or attorneys, like accountants. We have all of these people. We have people that are looking to retire. We have people that are selling their business. Like we have all these people right now in our phones that have problems in their life. And when I say problems, I don't mean like they're struggling, or it's just things that can be resolved and they would be willing to exchange money for that solution, and you just got to identify who's in your network that has circumstances that you can help connect the dots.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And a lot of times they'll be willing to pay some money to make that introduction or help facilitate the solution to the problem. So that's really where you start. We just experienced a whole lot of dysfunction. And, I was telling Michelle, that's great. When you talk about what I do, and getting started, things are not going to go right. There's going to be things that happen that aren't according to plan. And the goal is to understand the problem and work through it and move forward. So that's what we're doing. And I'm glad this happened because I like to demonstrate what I do in real time, real life. A lot of us don't get started because we're afraid of it looking bad, or, we think it has to be perfect. Any other questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. What are you most focused on solving or scaling next in your business?
So right now, what I'm doing in my business is really just that. A lot of us confuse self-employment or entrepreneurship with running and growing a business. And what I've learned about business is, if it requires me to be there, it's not a business. If I can't sell it to someone else and have it create the same outcome for another owner, it's not a business. And so when we talk about the business of it, that's where I'm at. I'm putting in those processes. You know, like I said, Grant, promote, profit, process is where I'm at, and people or who I'm putting in that. So SOPs, standard operating procedures, I'm putting that in. Executive teams, marketing resources, but I'm also using a more lean concept, because one thing that, entrepreneurs 10 years ago, 5 years ago didn't have is the ability to create agentic agents to support them. They didn't have agentic agents to support them in their business moving forward. So I'm looking at ways to, automate my systems and processes using AI. And and also, you know, connecting the dots with my customer base using social media and different things like that, and really documenting and protecting my intellectual property and physical property to build wealth long term.
So, when it comes to growing your business and building new relationships, what has made the biggest difference for you?
Just being willing to share where I'm at, and listening to where other people are, looking for synergistic relationships. What I've learned, when we talk about relationships, I think for most of us, we think that has to look pretty all the time. And if you're in real estate, you'll probably be able to appreciate this. When you acquire a property, now you own it, and it's not always peaches and cream. And so there's challenges that you have to work with. There's shifts in markets when you're leveraging other people's money. Sometimes there's delay in liquidity to repay those debts. And so communication is critical. What I've learned is a lot of people are understanding. They just need communication. And what a lot of people end up doing is when they have all these financial stresses in their deals, they shut down, and they go into hiding, and that doesn't work. And so the relationships that I've built is really identifying, my character under those tough times, and identifying the people that are willing to be there to walk me through it and be with me through it, because it doesn't always work the way you want it to. In fact, it's more likely to not go exactly how you want it to. And
Absolutely. That is so important. So, thank you for bringing that discussion. So, before we wrap up here, if someone wants to reach out, connect, collaborate, learn more about what you're doing, where is the best way for them to reach you?
birddogeducation.com and also birddogmillionairebooklet.com. The Bird Dog Millionaire booklet, it's so that book was inspired by my mentor Grant Cardone. He has a millionaire booklet that he created few years back. And in his book, he teaches you how to basically build $1 million business or pursue $1 million income. He just gets you familiar with that kind of target. Most people haven't been exposed to that. And so, if you don't know how to do millionaire math, you'll have a hard time accomplishing it. The Bird Dog Millionaire booklet is a way that I've modeled his example, and I've used my intellectual property, my story, to show people how to get started with little to no cash credit or experience, because you can. And it's through following somebody else's example. And so the way that the booklet is designed is I get into the mindset, because it all starts in the mind first. And then I get into the actions. So each chapter is a concept that I've used to move forward in real estate. It teaches you really about bird dogging as a strategy, and having the right mindset, and then having the right actions. And then there's access to the community where you can start to cultivate and be around like-minded people, all in the same journey on different levels. So birddogeducation.com and Bird Dog Millionaire Booklet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate your time, your story, and perspective. We need more people in this space doing things in this right way. So, thank you again for being here.
Yep. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate the time.
Awesome. And for those of you that are tuning in, if you got value from this, make sure you're subscribed. We have more conversations coming with operators who are out here building real businesses, and we'll see you all on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.